Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Think about the day. Let's talk about it. Okay? I want to clear up some things and shed some light on some things. And most of all, I want to say, for those of you who know me, and for those of you who are new to me on any of my platforms, again, I'm Stekina. I've been getting a couple of comments and inboxes over the last couple of weeks and months, and over the year. And so I'm here to just kind of clear up some stuff, right? To answer some questions, to shed light on some things, and then to also give my honest and wholehearted praises. For those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who do know me, you know that last July, July 2nd of 2024, I was in a horrific car accident, okay? That car accident subsequently changed my life in a lot of different ways, okay? And so I'm going to share some of those things with you, and hopefully that'll kind of clear up some of the misconceptions, heavy on the misconceptions, and to help hopefully shed some light on where I am now in the journey. So again, July 2nd, 2024, I was minding my own business, driving to a store. I had just left my very first day of summer school work. For those of you who do know me or who don't know me, I'm a teacher by profession. I'm a pre-K kindergarten teacher by profession. I've done that for about 31 years now. And in 2019, I became a substitute teacher for a North Shore school district. I also work part-time for Chicago Public Schools with diverse learners, for the most part. So I'm still, kind of in my teaching arena to a certain extent. So holding down 2 jobs. So I was first day of summer school, and I decided I needed to run an errand and go to a store. Again, this is July 2nd of 2024. I'm driving, I'm going westbound, and I see a military style truck going eastbound, opposite lane, okay, heavy on the opposite lane. The military truck essentially skips the opposite lane and comes over into my lane. The next thing I remember was a gravitational pull, and I remember my vehicle coming up off the ground and went into like a spin. I remember that. I remember when my truck that I was driving that day landed, when it hit down hard on the ground, everything just kind of came down and settled, in a thump. And the next thing I know, I remember blacking out. And when I woke up, the inside of my vehicle was essentially burning. The jacket I was wearing that day had a burn mark here on my arm, and I was in disbelief, like what just happened, I remember the military vehicle striking my vehicle. I remember hearing like 2 loud crash or pop sounds in my left ear, and again the vehicle went up, came down, and so essentially once I woke up, I went into fight or flight mode instantly. And so the vehicle, essentially the locks engaged, and so it had me locked inside the vehicle. I couldn't get out. And so airbags have deployed, and so when the airbags deploy, it kind of squeezes you in really tight, so it's not a lot of room. And so once I figured out that all the locks were engaged and I couldn't get out, I started to kind of bang on the window, but I figured out I couldn't break the glass. I remember my head hitting the glass, the left driver door, the glass really hard. I remember my shoulder banging into the glass, and then all of a sudden my arm got like numb, and it felt like my arm just kind of fell in a sense, right? So it was a lot happening that day. So I began to, kick the doors to get out of the vehicle, and once I finally kicked the door, like the third or fourth time, the lock on the passenger side disengaged. And so I remember throwing my legs out. I didn't look, because I was looking to the left of me, but my body was going to the right of me. So I threw my legs out, and when I threw my legs out of the vehicle, my legs were just dangling in the air. There was no earth underneath me. There was no ground, no nothing. Okay? So when I looked out the vehicle to see why my feet didn't touch the ground, I figured out that the car was not on the ground, that it was up. So when the military vehicle hit me, when I went into the spin and I landed, it catapulted me underneath a railroad crossing. Okay? So that's where my truck ended up. It sent me up into the air, and when it landed, I didn't land on the ground. I landed up underneath a railroad crossing. When I say a railroad crossing, I mean an actual railroad train, like those trains that you see that bring in all the, goods and wares. Not a CTA train. The big train, like a metro, like that. So I landed underneath the train track. Okay? So the reason why I'm here again is to, one, to give some updates as to this journey and what lies ahead, what I've been through, what I've seen, and all that has happened. So I want to start here. It has been 1 year and about 2 weeks or so since the accident happened. Again, I work for 2 different school districts, so I wasn't able financially to just up and leave the jobs, even though I had and still have a traumatic brain injury concussion. I couldn't leave work financially. What essentially happened was, again, I have a traumatic brain injury concussion, and so I'm going to tell you what that journey has been like for me, and moving forward. The greatest part of the injuries was, I told you, my left shoulder went into the glass of the door. So what ended up happening was the hit from the military truck tore my shoulder. It tore my shoulder from back here all the way across here. Okay, so just one clear cut, and then it cut from here to here. And I can't raise my arm enough to show you the middle piece, but on this arm, it cut my armpit underneath across, like that. So, fast forward, I had to kind of, wear a brace a lot, things like that, just trying to figure it out. I had to go through a little bit of, turmoil with both employers trying to get paid leave to be able to medically leave and to, to have surgery, and all these doctors and all the things that came along with that. I know I'm talking kind of fast, but I'm trying to just give you a quick little gist, of the journey. And then, like I said, to clear up some misconceptions and to answer some questions, because there are a lot of people kind of like, who is this lady and what is she talking about and what happened to her and how come we see you in the brace and how come you're talking about surgery and all these things. And so that's why I'm here today. So moving forward, I had to just keep working, but I couldn't work full time because my arm was unstable. And so the physical therapist and the surgeon and my primary all decided together, like, it's not safe for you to, try to work a full-time job, either one of the jobs. So you're going to have to bump down and only work like maybe 3 days a week if your body can handle that. So I did that, and financially it caused a great great deal of stress on me because my finances took a huge hit. So the truck that I was driving that day ended up being totaled. And so I went several weeks without having a stable vehicle. When the accident first happened, the vehicle was subsequently again totaled out and replaced. That vehicle was replaced, I think, like last September, October. So I'm grateful for that. However, the person who caused the accident to me only replaced my truck. The person has not taken any financial responsibility for me whatsoever. And when I say for me, I mean the physical me, the loss of income, the surgery. So the surgery was, I had a total of 6 surgeries to repair my shoulder, okay? Those 6 surgeries cost me $60,000, okay? I don't have that kind of money. And so the $60K that the surgery set me back, I'm trying to save and scrimp and, do all the things over the course of the year before I even actually had the surgery. Now, some people are asking, well, why did you wait so long? Again, I couldn't just leave my job financially, even though I wasn't physically in the best shape. I had to keep going. I had to keep pushing through as long as I could until I couldn't do it anymore. So fast forward, the surgeon is saying, hey, we can't leave that arm, too much more longer. We got to get in here. And I'm steady saying to him, well, I'm trying to save. I'm trying to build the money. I started a GoFundMe, which is still currently open today. And I'll tell you why. I also will link my Cash App here. If you want to make a donation to the GoFundMe, or if you want to make a donation to the Cash App, it is fine. I welcome anything and all. So having to stop working full time, being the only person in my household who was working. So you guys know that I have 2 sons. One is 30, he lives in his own house. And then I have another son who's 20. He lives sometimes with me, sometimes with his dad. So being the really only stable income in my household, I took a huge financial hit. So again, the person who caused the car accident did not and has not up to today taken any financial responsibility for me. So people are saying, well, how have you been making it? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It is by generous donations from people who know me, from strangers, the kindness of people. I've had to really depend a lot on that. I'm not going to tell you that there's like blue gobs of money flying into the Cash App and to the GoFundMe. It is not. I wish that it were, because that would make my life a little easier. But I'm going to work with what I have in terms of, me being me. And, this is life. It is essentially hard to kind of deal with and hard to kind of maneuver when you're a really strong person and you have to depend on the help of others, right? So that was one of the things that I had to learn, is that it's okay to ask for help, which if you know me in my own personal life, if you know me, in my public life, I'm a very self-sufficient person, right? So if I say like I need help or I need you to do this or that, like it can be a little jarring to some people because I'm not the kind of person who asks for help a lot. But now I'm in a place, in a space where that's the only way I'm going to be able to survive any of this. It is the kindness of strangers and people who know me who is how I have been able to survive, right? This is hard, right? So, in terms of like medical team, like I have mental health therapist. She's really great because what happened was I started to develop signs of PTSD. And so this is all new to me. And so working through that. And so she's helping me process through that and process out of it. Some of the ways in which I deal with PTSD is like breathing exercises, moving my body. For those of you who know me, you know I'm a pretty active person, but I'm being a little more intentional now in like my walking. And if you've noticed, my body's slimming down a little bit. So I've been trying to eat a little better. It isn't a perfect science. It is a work, in progress. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm starting to see a little bit of the work, in the way in which my body looks. Dancing. I know you guys have been seeing a lot of different versions of me dancing, whether it's just me dancing to music, or doing like these specific fan dances with the gradient fans and things like that. Those things have been helping me a lot. I'm not just doing it because I'm a busy person. It is essentially helping me again process through the stress that I feel, the PTSD symptoms. Moving my body helps me feel better, right? So that's why you're seeing a lot of those things on social media. Again, for the people who do know me, you know that I'm kind of versatile like that. I'm really busy. I like a lot of things, and music and art and all the things. So I'm a very well-versed, very well-rounded person in general. So the therapist has said to me, well, because of all the things that you love to do before the car accident, I want you to continue to do those things, do them safely, right? Because again, remember, I have a concussion. So the concussion, and remember, I'm only 7 weeks fresh out of surgery, having 6 total surgeries on my rotator cuff to repair it, to put my shoulder back together. So the therapist is saying, and the surgeon is saying, like, Stekina, back in the day, the way we used to treat, traumatic brain injuries and such, we would tell people to just kind of stay home and ball up in the dark room and just be quiet and stay still. And so essentially what they are saying to me is like, we don't do that anymore. We want people to get out and be active, having conversations, getting sun, eating good food, kind of staying close to who you were before whatever the traumatic experience was that took you away from that for a little bit. So this is why you're seeing me out in public even more than I was before, for a lot of reasons. Where the concussion plays a huge part in me being more social and out and about is I'm working on my memory. My memory was affected by the traumatic brain injury concussion. I had to learn how to walk again, whether you know that or not, I'm telling you. I had to learn how to walk properly again, because when I would stand up, sometimes I would lose my balance, and when I would try to maneuver forward or maneuver backwards, my body would be unstable, so I would kind of be rocking from like left to right. But that's because my brain was affected. This side of my brain was affected because my head went into the glass. So I'm getting questions of people like, I saw her out dancing the other night, or I saw her out at the art gallery, or I saw her out having dinner. Like, all of these things are the things I used to do anyway before the car accident. Again, the doctors want me to kind of sustain who I was with limits, okay? So, movement. I have a doctor right now who's helping me work on brain training. So brain training to help me with my balance, okay? So that's why you're seeing me do a lot of like dance and movement videos because that's part of my therapy. Okay, therapy in terms of memory. How do I know how to take 1-2 step, 1-2, 1-2, those kinds of things. My rote memory, singing, speaking, writing, all these things were affected because of the traumatic brain injury concussion. So you're gonna see me dancing, okay, whether it's in person and in videos. I love to do like a lot of like skits and things like that on social media, especially my TikTok platform. That's where most of my body of work is. If you don't know me, if you're not a TikTok follower, that's where most of my body of work is. So you're going to see lots of different dynamics and aspects of me before the car accident, during the processing of the car accident, before the surgery, and after the surgery, what that looks like, okay? So there are a lot of different facets of me. There are a lot of different sides of me. I am an Aquarius, and so Aquarians are not, we are not held in the box, right? Aquarians will and always live outside the box, outside the norms, okay? Just in general. I'm a very funny person, but I also am a very serious person when it comes to family and being a good person, being a good human being, and being a good humanitarian and helping people, even though I'm in a state of great need, like helping people. And so I'm very serious about certain aspects of the world, both personal and professional. So moving forward to the surgery. So I had surgery 7 weeks ago. It took me until May of 2025 financially to be able to save up enough money to even have the surgery. Okay, so this is why I have the open Cash App, and this is why I have the open GoFundMe. The campaigns are still running today. Why? Because I had to take an unpaid leave from work. Okay? The unpaid leave from work from both jobs. I am technically off on an unpaid leave from May of 2025, technically until May of 2026. Okay? That's a long time. The doctors, however, and I, however, are going to try to slowly trickle me back to work, possibly in September or October. Because we're trying to do like a 6-month trial to see if I physically can handle it. Now, again, some people think, oh, well, she's a teacher, you should be able to do that. But you got to remember, teaching isn't just only standing at the blackboard and quoting things from a book. One of the jobs that I work is I work with diverse learners. So a lot of my students are differently able. Some students are in wheelchairs and things like that. And so being a teacher, sometimes I have to get really physical, right? Again, it's not only just standing at a blackboard and quoting things from a book. Right? So my shoulder has to be able to sustain the physicality of that job, right? So right now, like this arm, it does its thing, right? Because that's the good arm. So this arm can only come up about this high, right? There are certain things that I cannot do with the arm yet. Remember, it's only been 7 weeks. There are some things that I won't ever be able to do again. With my left arm, and so those things will come over time. I'm going to learn what I can and cannot do. The surgeon did the best that he could. Again, 6 surgeries on one space is a lot for the human psyche and for the human body. Okay, so he has mentioned to me that there may be possibly a 7th surgery, but I am rebuking that because physically and mentally I can't do this again. Okay, that was already 6 surgeries. I cannot do a 7th surgery. Financially, unless I hit the lottery for millions and billions, financially I cannot sustain a 7th surgery. But the reality is, after I've said all of that, the reality is that if it has to happen, I don't know how financially I'm going to be able to deal with that. So, getting back to the concussion again, so I'm working on balance. So this is why, again, you see me dancing and things like that, because I'm working on my coordination as well. There are going to be times that you're going to see me in public, in videos and things like that. You're like, did she just lose her balance? Did she just like tumble a little bit? Yeah, absolutely. I probably did. Most likely I did, because again, I'm still working on those things. There are times that you're going to see me in person and in videos, and I may be dancing or something, and it may be flawless. It comes and goes. My concussion symptoms come and go, okay? Some days waking up and the first thing I do is like thank God, like, for another day. The second thing I always do is just say to God, God, let me remember. So right now, one of the things that I'm fighting for so hard is my memory, to remember who I am. Do I remember my name? Do I remember that person? Do I remember my phone number, where I live? All these things. Because the brain is a very complex entity in itself. But when the brain is off kilter, what I'm learning about me personally in this journey, when my brain has been affected and off kilter, it changes the way that I do things, how I process. Over the course of this year, I want to say this really quickly. One of the challenges that I have to do for myself daily, you wouldn't necessarily know this unless I tell you, but I'm telling you. So remembering things like, oh, I have an errand to run, or I have a task to do, whether it's inside my house or outside of my house, but especially things where I have to leave my home. Memory is very important. I know just looking at me, you're like, oh, she looks like a regular person. She looks like nothing has happened to her. And I have to keep telling people this, like, you can't necessarily see the things on the outside, because everything that is truly happening to me is on the inside. You can't see a traumatic brain injury. You may see some of the outward levels of it, again, in terms of like, my speech has been affected. I have a speech therapist, so I had to learn how to talk again, right? So there are times when someone may be talking to me, or I may be talking and I may zone out. Like, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's the concussion. I have a doctor's note. And I'm just being funny, but I'm being serious. My speech is affected. Sometimes my thoughts get stuck and I can't put the words into English. Sometimes you'll see me start to speak and then I may drag the word out. That is because of the concussion. Sometimes I jumble words together, or I may start talking really fast. That's part of the concussion. So it's not me being silly, or I had someone once over the course of this year kind of hint at the fact, like, is that lady drunk, or has she been smoking something or something? Absolutely not. Anybody who knows me, and for those who don't know me, I'm going to make it very clear. I do not drink and I do not smoke or take any sorts of substances or pills, okay? That's not my deal. So, but traumatic brain injuries can make you appear as if you are under the influence of something. So that's why I had to make sure I cleared that misconception up. I'm not under the influence. If I appear a little off kilter about something, or even in my walking or speaking or things like that, or me trying to just merely reach for something and pick it up and it doesn't look perfect, it is the concussion symptoms, okay? So I have PT 3 times a week. I see the surgeon once a month, and that will go on for the next year, because he has to monitor his work and my progress, right? Again, I'm out of work for the next 6 months to a year. It's a possibility there may be an additional surgery coming, and again, I cannot wrap my mind around that right now, as I just got off the surgery table. Okay, so I'm not trying to be avoidant of the subject, but I just cannot right now wrap my mind around that, having a 7th surgery. So we're all going to pray and agree that that does not have to happen. Okay, I have faith. So I'm just trying to basically just pick up the pieces, from that car accident, and I'm trying to put my life back together, because that day changed my entire life. Yeah, and so I'm just trying to live, and be okay with it, and work through what I gotta work through, and still be a good human being, and still find the joy in life, and just trying to really figure out getting up every day and how to make it worth it, right? How to make it worth it. So, speech therapy again is going well. My physical therapy is going well. Surgical visits are going well. The vestibular coach, that's going well. My vision was affected, so I had to get new glasses. So from time to time you'll see my new glasses in lots of my videos and such. My vision has been affected a lot. So in the daytime I'm pretty okay whether I'm wearing my glasses or not, but at nighttime my vision can tend to be affected, especially from like the middle of my eyes down. Sometimes like things that are like down on the ground, like when it's dark outside or when the lights are not on in my apartment and I'm trying to maneuver through the house, sometimes I can't see fully everything, even though I've lived here for 5 years and I kind of know my house, I know where everything is, but still there are times when I don't see something, right? So I pray that my vision will be 100% restored. As this journey goes on, I'm praying for a full restoration of my mind and my body, and my life, my finances, and and just trying to just move on. So I know I said a lot, and I know this video was long, but again, like I said, I needed to really just clear up a lot of things for people. So, again, if you'd like to donate to the Cash App, if you would like to make a donation to the GoFundMe, that will also be linked in the video, okay? And again, I appreciate everything and everyone, and thank you to all the people who have sent prayers, those who have given me well wishes, those who have supported me both spiritually and financially. Your work and your efforts do not go unnoticed. May God bless you, and I want you all to have an amazing day. Oh, let me say this, because people keep pointing this out. Again, I have a traumatic brain injury concussion, so sometimes I don't always remember, and I'm working on this. Sometimes I don't always remember like what day it is, okay? So those things are affected. So sometimes I may come in the video and I may say, hey y'all, happy Saturday, and it's really Tuesday. Charge it to the game, not my heart, right? Sometimes I just don't remember. And I may say, hey, happy Saturday, and it's Tuesday with my whole heart and mean that. Because I actually think it is Saturday when it's really not. So listen, again, like I said, charge it to the game and not my heart. But you all have an amazing day, and thank you for listening. Thank you for being a great support system and rallying around me and my children, my family. And I wish you all the best. Have a great day.